Welcome back to Industry Champions, where we highlight those who are making an impact in their industry. I'm Morgan Allen, joined today by Will Soriano with Apex Chiropractic. Dr. Will, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, so tell me a little bit about Apex Chiropractic.
So we're an upper cervical office located in Neptune Beach. Upper cervical is a branch of chiropractic that a lot of people are seeking more and more now. We really focus on the top areas of the neck, and because of how different it is compared to the rest of the spine. The rest of the spine has a lot of things that help protect it, like there's discs in between the bones that act like shock absorbers, so when you're running, jumping, dancing, doing exercise, you're not hitting bone against bone. And then there's also these little joints on the back of those vertebrae that are called facets, and they sort of interlock with the same bones above and below. So it makes real big moves in that area not possible. But because of how much we need to use our head and be able to look behind us and see saber-toothed tiger coming, that upper cervical area is completely different. There's no discs between the base of the skull and that first bone, and between that first and second bone. There's no facets locking any of those joints to anything above or below. And again, that's by design, so we can see that saber-toothed tiger coming. But that's a problem because of what's going on the inside. So a lot of people don't know that the top two bones in your neck are actually attached anatomically to the upper cord and to parts of the brainstem. So there are muscles that connect the base of your head to your neck, and those muscles have connections from the muscles to the bones directly into the spinal cord. And it's there to protect the spinal cord so that when you look up or you turn your head, those muscles contract, they pull the cord towards the back of the spinal canal, so that when you tilt your head back, you don't make your cord fold over on itself. It'd probably be bad. You'd probably pass out if that happened. So it's by design that it's like that. However, when we have some kind of injury, a head trauma, concussion, and it causes one of those bones to move and get stuck in an abnormal position, because all of those muscles have actual connections to the tissues itself, now that same thing that's there to protect the cord and keep it in the center is now deforming that cord, right? And then that can create a lot of issues for people. So those are the types of things that we try to focus on when we have people come into the office.
Yeah, like I'm a perfect case. I have military neck.
Yeah.
So can you explain what that is?
Yeah, so our spine is designed for movement under gravity. Yeah. And because of that, we have these unique curves, and those curves make our spines really springy, so that when running, jumping, and dancing, we're not causing damage. But if you were to straighten, for example, that neck, now that same motion that normally would do this kind of stuff, now we're just kind of coming straight down like that. And that puts added stress on muscles, tendons, ligaments, joints, discs, nerves, all of that stuff has more stress on it than it normally would. And then it can cause abnormal movement. And then as we do these abnormal movements, we're trying to exist in our environment, we end up having to compensate a lot for that. Yeah. So, a person might have a military neck, they may also have a head tilt. And, if you try to walk around with your head tilted like this, you'd feel like you may have, had too many beers, right? And that's important, again, by design. Your eyes and your ears are constantly giving information to your brain about where you are in time and space. But in order for that information to be useful to your brain, your eyes and your ears must be level with your horizon, right? So if you're doing this and you start walking around, if you kept your head like that, you would have a hard time. Yeah. So because our bodies are so awesome at adapting, if your head is doing this as you start walking around, your body might take that shoulder and kind of bring it down to try to get your head back to being level. That may create some abnormal curves in that upper back. That may start causing shoulder pain. It may go down to the hip. And yes, we can address the hip and adjust that hip. But if we don't get that head back on straight, it's going to continue to happen, right? Wow. So I would much rather get it back on straight.
Yeah. And so you not only help with those types of scenarios, but you do help with concussions.
Yeah, concussion is a thing that we see a lot, and it's because it is nearly impossible to have a head or concussion type injury without injuring the neck also, okay? If you think about how we're designed, our head weighs about 10 to 15 pounds, and then your neck underneath that is much smaller. So when something happens to our head and we have, that the neck is going to be involved.
Yeah.
And because the neck is involved, the way that the brain is going to move inside is also going to be different. You know, they used to have this model that when you have a concussion, your brain hits inside the skull and then bounces and hits the other side, and they would call that coop counter coop, and then you would bruise those areas of the brain, and then that's why we had dysfunction. And some of that may be true, but now the model that they're looking at more is what they're calling diffuse axonal injury. And so axons are like connections. You can, you know, that would be like the easiest way to explain it. They're just connections. And when you have these types of injuries where the head is going like this, it's not going to go just like that. There's always going to be a little bit of torsion, a little bit of torque that happens in there, right? And when we have these torquing injuries, most of that is going to go to the smallest spot, and that's the very bottom of the brain stem, and the upper cord. And so when you damage these axons, that's not going to appear on a conventional MRI, right? And so a lot of times people will have these tests and they'll say, hey, your brain looks normal, you know, you shouldn't be having these injuries or these symptoms, and they still have them. And that can be really frustrating, you know, if you have dizziness that doesn't go away, or you have weird sleep stuff that doesn't go away, or your digestion is off, and you're seeing all these specialists, and sometimes it can get to the point where they'll tell you, you know, maybe we need to do a psych workup, you know, because maybe it's just all in your head. It is, but not in the way that they're thinking. You know, it could be actual damage, and it's not being assessed.
Yeah.
Right?
And you have some really cool tech that you were actually showing me on the app. There's a cap you put on?
Yeah, so we use a device called Neck Care. A lot of universities and professional teams are using it. The UFC uses it. And it is a good way to track how a person may be recovering or not recovering from an injury like a concussion. We look at three things. We look at range of motion. So what's the normal movement that you should have in your neck, and is it all there? We look at something that's called joint position error. So you don't need to memorize that, but that just basically tells us that we're looking at proprioception. And proprioception is just a fancy word for, does your brain know where your body is, where your joints are? That's important. Like, you ever taken a phantom step? And you're like, whoa, that was like a little glitch in proprioception. But if that's happening all the time, that makes it really hard for you to navigate in the world. And then the last thing that we check with that device is something that's called sensory motor control. And basically what that tells us is how well your brain can take information from your eyes and your neck when you're asked to follow a moving target, or someone throws a ball and you have to catch it, right? That's sensory motor control. You're driving, someone cuts you off, you have to slam on the brakes, look in this mirror, look in that mirror. Integrating all that information and then doing something, that's sensory motor control. And when your head isn't on right because of a concussion or some other type of injury, those things can be negatively impacted. And if we can't track them, then we can't really see how a person may or may not be recovering from that. And if we can't see that, then we may just be doing the same thing over and over, and this person's not going to get better.
Goodness. Wow, you've instilled a huge level of gratitude for my neck and head today. So thank you. It's amazing what you do and how you can help people. It changes lives in serious ways.
It really does, and you know, it's a non-invasive way of doing things, because we're not cutting people, we're not doing surgery, we're not putting any drugs in you or taking stuff out of you. We're really just saying, hey, can we get your head back on straight the way it was pre-injury status? And then if we can do that and get normal signaling, normal blood flow in and out of the head, normal exchange of cerebrospinal fluid in and out of the head, then it's very likely that you can go back to pre-injury status.
Wow, that's fantastic. So people can come visit you. Where are you located?
We are in Neptune Beach. We're at 808 3rd Street, Suite C in Neptune Beach. We're in the same business plaza as Yoga Mix. Everyone knows Yoga Mix. They love that place. And we do see people from all over, because we are, unfortunately, a specialized form of chiropractic. And I wish it wasn't the case, but we often have people that come to see us from places like Blackshear, Georgia. It's like a 2-hour drive. I don't want that. It makes it really hard for those people to get any type of real care, but there just aren't enough chiropractors doing this type of care right now. I think right now, if we're about 60,000 chiropractors in the United States, about 5% do some kind of only upper cervical chiropractic. So there's not a lot of people that are doing this type of work.
Yeah. Well, my dad's going to be your next client, that's for sure. He's always like, I can't see you. I'm like, okay, we're going to bring you to Dr. Will Soriano, that's for sure.
That's
Dr.
great.
Will, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. And viewers, thank you for tuning in to another episode. If you want more information about Dr. Soriano, head on over to dailynewsnetwork.com, and we have his info right there. You'll see it below this video. We'll see you in the next episode of Industry Champions.